The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Man, oh man, the Vancouver Canucks are about to trade or keep Kiefer Sherwood. Kyle, I'm stressed out, man.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs. That guy is Kyle Bhawan. And man, oh man, 2026, it's a new year, but it's the same old Vancouver Canucks. But Kyle, hopefully it's a year where we, finish off the year talking about a successful rebuild, excitement for the future. Right now, things are feeling just as murky as they were in 2025. And that starts with the news about Kiefer Sherwood over the weekend. And I feel like we have two different mentalities on this, but of course, you've all heard the report by now. Elliotte Friedman saying that the Canucks were talking contract with Kiefer Sherwood. I believe he was on Donnie and Dolly today as well, talking about how it's a big poker game right now with Kiefer Sherwood in terms of, the Canucks talking contract, maybe not getting the return that they hope for. But I think there's some cause for concern, but a lot of it, that's just noise right now. But Kyle, let's get into it. Tell me, you wanted to title this episode, "The Canucks are keeping Kiefer Sherwood." So what are your thoughts, man? You really think the Canucks are going to keep this guy?
Well, who knows what the future holds, Trevor? You're talking to a man who lost Micah Parsons to a torn ACL. Okay, go Pack, go. Big game this Saturday. You're talking to a man who had their captain quit on them. Okay, Quinn Hughes left out of nowhere to Minnesota, right? A lot of things happened in December. My dog passed away, Trevor. I'm ready to be surprised again. Life is crazy right now. And a few days after Loki says, "Peace out, world." Shout out to my dog again. Elliotte Friedman's like, "Yo, hold up. Canucks are negotiating with Kiefer Sherwood, possibly." And yeah, they might be miles apart. But where there's smoke, there's fire. And where there's intrigue, there's the possibility of the Canucks now doing the unthinkable. And this is something that I joked about. I think it was early last week. When I say joke, that was more, theorizing with my philosophy towards this team's culture problem and whatnot. And I was like, you know what? If we need draft picks, if we need to get rid of some veterans, if we're going to do a hybrid rebuild and keep some of these veterans, why not get rid of DeBrusk and Besser and keep Garland and Sherwood, guys who try hard, guys who work hard, guys who are close with guys like Braden Cootes, like the young guys, and Z Bouillon. And I don't know, just switch it up like that. And here we are potentially going somewhere down that path, because I feel like the Canucks may surprise us and wheel and deal at Jake DeBrusk, get something for him, and tell the fan base that, yo, we got some draft picks. We got a second and a fourth. Let's just keep Kiefer Sherwood now.
Yeah, maybe we should get into the Jake DeBrusk thing. I know I've missed some time here at Locked On Canucks, Kyle. One love to you, one love to Loki. I know we've chatted since then. It's I'm trying to be more of a friend than a colleague here in 2026. That's my New Year's resolution. But look, when it comes to Kiefer Sherwood, I'm telling you right now, I would be shocked. I know you're saying anything can happen here. I would be shocked if the Canucks kept this guy. And I was saying this back in October too, right? I was on team keep Kiefer Sherwood only if the Canucks were actually in a playoff hunt. Like, even if they were on the cusp, I would say re-sign this guy because of what he brings, the unique profile he has. I actually think there's some untapped offensive potential in his game as well, if he can play with more high-end players. That's just not happening in Vancouver. And I know everyone's kind of in the mix in the West, but Kyle, there's 10 teams that are within 6 points of each other between the Vegas Golden Knights at 4th in the conference, the Calgary Flames at 14th. The Canucks are outside of that picture by 3 points. They severely lack talent, and they have a 30-year-old unrestricted free agent who comes at a low cap hit, who other teams can take on that cap hit, no problem, and stomach it. Kiefer Sherwood is going to get traded. I don't think there's much of a rationale for keeping him. I know anything can happen. That could be an argument for anything in life, but the Canucks are trading Kiefer Sherwood, and you can look back to what they did with Bo Horvat. I know a different player, but a month before trading him in January 2023, back around Christmas of 2022, the Canucks started talking contract with Horvat. When it started to become more clear that he was probably going to get traded, they were nowhere close on a deal. Boom, he gets traded. I see it playing out in a similar way with Sherwood. I really think it's a matter of when and not if. So I do not think the Canucks are keeping Kiefer Sherwood. I think the talk about him re-signing with the team, as much as we love the player, it's not something to stress about if you're a Canuck fan. Now, I think the one thing you should stress about, Kyle, is what you're actually going to get in return for Kiefer Sherwood. And I know he's a UFA and you got to trade him for something, don't get nothing. But I'm starting to wonder what the actual return is going to be for Kiefer Sherwood. And we talked about a month or so ago, Kyle, like if it's a second round pick, like, are you going to be happy with that? Probably not. But right now, like, what do you think the Canucks could realistically get for Kiefer Sherwood? Because this has gone on for a while. Elliotte Friedman talked today about the big poker game. I really do wonder what the Canucks are actually going to get for him.
Yeah, because I guess the trade hasn't happened yet because the Canucks, they obviously want more, but I'm assuming like what they've been offered is very similar to some of the deals we've seen recently, involving like a 10-goal scorer going for a second round pick or whatever, right? And all that jazz. Like, I don't know if you have the names in front of you, but I remember, again, all these names coming up, all these trades happening over the last couple of weeks, and people were like, oh, we'll get a lot for Kiefer now. But on that note, like, you don't think teams have an analytical department? Like, sure, Kiefer Sherwood hits and he plays hard, but he's not the best defensive player. Let's be real. And I'm assuming, and I love Kiefer Sherwood. I think I just love the energy he brings, and I really am intrigued by his relationship with Braden Cootes too, because he seems like one of the few leaders on this team. All that being said, I'm assuming he does have a high shooting percentage. I know you nerds like to bring up that stat, but when there's like, again, teams around the league potentially not giving Rutherford and Alvin like the first in the prospect, like I don't know, like it's Kiefer Sherwood. Like it's Kiefer Sherwood. You know what I'm saying? He's a winger, not even a center. He's had 2 good offensive years as an NHL. Like, would I get mad if it's a second round pick and a B-level prospect for Kiefer Sherwood, something similar to like Nikolai Goldobin and a second for Yannick Hansen or whatever it was? I wouldn't. It's Kiefer Sherwood. Don't get me wrong. I think I will say this, even though he's only had a few good offensive seasons, I will say I believe in the player. I believe for the next couple of years, he's going to bring you quote unquote surplus value. Again, that's another term you guys like to use. You and I, 32 and a half years old, we like to believe that 30-year-olds still have a chance in this thing called life. Like, he's not going to be in a wheelchair soon. I feel like Kiefer Sherwood is going to get you 15 goals. He's going to draw a bunch of penalties. He's going to knock a team off their game once in a while. And in the playoffs, he's not going to win you a series, but, I ain't going to front. He could win you a game. Just be agonizing, scoring a big goal, the hit after hit, injuring players because of like the body checks that he lays out. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of value there, but the sample size is too small for him to guarantee himself like a first round pick return. And it's not like this guy's like a 35 goal scorer. I know he's on pace for like 40 this year, but the sample size is too small for, again, a guaranteed like first round pick haul, in my opinion. That's just me. So I wouldn't be disappointed, Trevor. I wouldn't be disappointed if it's less.
Yeah, second in the B prospect. I know, like, thinking about trades from last year, the ones that come to mind are obviously like, Brandon Tanev and Anthony Beauvillier go for a second round pick. It's like, you got to get way more than that for Kiefer Sherwood. But, first round picks, especially in this draft, are going to be hard to come by. And I think that's a realistic return, honestly, like a second round pick and a B-level prospect. And I think fans are probably going to be a little bit pissed off about that. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I do believe what the Canucks should do with Kiefer Sherwood is trade Sherwood in a fourth and see if you can get into the first round of the draft, right? Like, you're basically trying to move up like 100 spots in the draft, try to get into the first round. I mean, having 3 first rounders in this draft, it means something. It does, especially for a Canucks team that, not only are they bad, but they have one of the worst prospect pools in hockey, or at least it's bottom 10 right now. As much as we want to hype up Cootes and Willander and Lekkermaki and all these guys, try to package a mid-round pick with Sherwood and get up into the first round of the draft. I think that's what the Canucks should do. And, if you get a B-level prospect in there, like, whatever. I mean, this team does need more prospects as well. But I think that's the roadmap the Canucks should follow, similar to what the Philadelphia Flyers did with Scott Laughton last year.
Yeah, that'd be cool. What was the deal for Scott Laughton again?
Yeah, so I'll try to pull it up here. I did know it off the top of my head at one point, but it was basically Scott Laughton for like a first in Quebecan or something like that.
Yeah, 2027 first round pick, top 10 protected,
Yeah.
and a 2025 fourth round pick. I mean, yeah, I'm down for something like that. I really am down. Obviously, I'm down for something like that. Even to the point if the pick is protected, obviously, but it's like, I'm sure it's not 2028 top 10 protected, right? If it does have to like transfer over, like I'm down to get a later first round pick for Kiefer Sherwood, but I'm telling 100%. You, there's a small chance that the Maple Leafs screwed it over for us. There's a small chance.
Yeah. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, to be honest. Other teams, believe in themselves. Like no one really thinks they're going to bottom out a year from now after buying at the trade deadline. There might be some teams that feel that risk. Like I do think of a team like the Washington Capitals. I know it's not necessarily the Ovi show anymore over there, but teams don't really think they're just going to automatically stuck the next year. You're right. There could be some hesitation, but that's why you put the protections on those picks, right?
But yeah, but like
in case there's a top 10 pick and you do bottom out.
But why is any team giving up a first round pick for like third liners? Like Scott Laughton, he has like probably 25 points last year and he gets a first round pick. And this year, I guarantee this guy's doesn't even have 15 points.
Because there's 32 GMs, man, and some of them aren't all that smart.
Yeah. And you know what? Then credit to Alvin and Rutherford for not rushing this. Like go get somebody that takes that bite because that would be a huge haul for the Canucks. A huge haul. Like I don't care if the first round pick's in 2028. You signed Kiefer Sherwood less than 2 years ago for $1 million plus. And if you can turn him into like, some 15-year-old, I'm down for that. I am from first round, like straight up, like that's the way I want this organization to move. But don't get me wrong. I just don't think they're moving like that. And I know I saw a tweet that, alluded to the fact that the Canucks may have like tried to sign Sherwood, but it's not going to happen. Like I just pulled it up right now. Like I got to watch the Elliotte Friedman interview on Donnie and Dolly when it's up. But I don't know, man. This team is so unpredictable. That all being said, I did also read an article off your guys' website on Daily Hive talking about. I think they were recapping Patrick Johnston's article. Great journalism. They're talking about the Dallas Stars and the Boston Bruins wanting Kiefer Sherwood. So. I don't know. Interesting times. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, you know what? What wasn't written by me, man. I'll say that. But there are more suitors in the running as well. Maybe let's touch on some of those on the side and talk about Braeden Cootes getting traded because that happened today. That's all coming up next year on Locked On Canucks. All right, before we get back to the show, let's shout out our friends over at Gametime, baby. And Man on Man Fridays, they already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing in the NBA. Open up the FanDuel app during happy hour, and there's always something new. Boosts, bonuses, surprises. Kyle, no, I think when we started Locked On a couple seasons ago, we picked our NBA teams, and I don't think it went well for either of us. Did you pick the Brooklyn Nets? Who did you pick again?
Probably. No, the Golden State Warriors.
I don't even remember.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, that tells you how it went, man.
You went with Portland. You went with Portland, though.
I went with, like the Trailblazers. You had the word Blaze in there, the closest team. They've had a bit of a better season, but they're still, they're still building for the future, man.
Yep. There you go. Well, yeah. NBA, boom, bam, FanDuel, great.
The hype from Kyle Bhawan, man. It's all the best to your pack this weekend. I really do hope the Packers win so that we have Packers and Seahawks in Seattle. Let's go! And speaking of going, go check out FanDuel on FanDuel.com and download the FanDuel app today.
People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks. Speaking of the people, let's read some comments here on Locked On Canucks. Damn, Angelo saying Kiefer Sherwood plays like Todd Bertuzzi. The hype is real, man. Okay, Trevor, answer me this. Riddle me this. Again, Canucks fans have a right to be as emotional as they want to be, barring the return for Kiefer Sherwood. But, like, are we doing it again? Are we, like, over-evaluating our players? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I try really hard not to. And again, like, when you look at some of the returns that you see in the trade market, Scott Laughton gets a first, Beauvillier and Brandon Tanev get seconds. Based on that logic, like, absolutely Sherwood's worth a first-round pick, but other teams in the NHL like know that this guy is on a shooting percentage heater. He's 30 years old, quite a bit, and he's a winger. Like, those are things working against Sherwood and the Canucks for them to get the return that they really want in this trade. Now, again, it only takes one GM. That's the thing. So Sherwood could get a first, but like I said before, I think the only way he's realistically going to get there is if you attach a mid-round pick to get there. Otherwise, like, I think he's going to be a second or maybe a second and a B-level prospect. Like, I think you hit the nail on the head. So never say never. But I think that's the pathway for the Canucks getting it first, is that they got to add to the package. That's just the truth of it.
And there's nothing wrong with getting second-round picks too. Like, give me a couple second-round picks. Like, which team out there has 2 second-round picks in this year's draft that's fighting for a playoff spot or is comfortably in a playoff spot? Like, I heard this theory. Like, what hockey podcast did I listen to that was talking about this? But they're pretty much like, when it comes to like the NHL draft, the first 2 rounds are really important, but at anything after like pick number like 15 or 20 is like all of those picks are like second round picks. You know what I'm trying to say? Like picks 20 to 60. You get what I'm trying to say, Trevor? Like if there's a lot of value in that realm, then like you could still find or even like hit a grand slam and hit a more of a quality pick, picking like 43rd and like 37th, as opposed to just like 21st, you know? So
yeah, for sure. There's a curve for sure. I believe it's like in the 3rd round for sure. It's like less than 10% of guys going to play 200 NHL games. Second round, maybe somewhere around 30%. I haven't looked at those numbers in a while, but yeah, I think the value drops off significantly after the top 10, then after the top 20, then as you get further down into the rounds. Kyle, speaking of first round picks, Braeden Cootes, he was traded today, man. Why did we lead with this? That's because he was traded in the WHL from the Seattle Thunderbirds to the Prince Albert. Oh God, wow. I can't remember what the team is, man. But I do know what the Prince Albert piercing is because I know Kyle's got one of those.
Prince Albert piercing? What is that?
Oh, yeah, you don't know? It's when you, what's that?
Is it a ball sack piercing?
Almost, man. It's a foreskin piercing.
Oh, so you just told the whole world that I'm not certain. Okay, you know what? We're not going to talk about the Prince Albert Raiders or whatever they're called. And Braeden Cootes, congratulations to the Prince Albert. Good luck in the playoffs. Whatever. Okay, yeah, great. But I do want to talk about Braeden Cootes and Team Canada. Okay, can we do that? Let's hit What the Puck.
I thought this was a Canucks show.
Ito, this WISA Canucks show.
Okay, this is What the Puck, the part of the show where we don't really talk about the Canucks. Trevor, if you do want to elaborate on like Braeden Cootes becoming a Prince Albert Raider and how this gives him a chance to gain playoff experience in the WHL playoffs and how this bodes well for the future of the Vancouver Canucks, go ahead and make all that up. That all being said, can we talk about Hockey Canada? Okay? Because Uncle Ricky sent us that tweet in the group chat. I even saw Paul Bizanet talk about this last night after the Czech Republic beat Canada for the 3rd straight year or something. Like, I guess I'm not a big World Hockey Junior Championship guy anymore. But the tweet alluded to like how hockey's too expensive in Canada now, and there's no like they don't have a foundation of like players who have to work for what they're getting with Hockey Canada and like work for their dreams because they're just a bunch of soft rich kids who have a lot of skill and have been into like development camps and can like score between their legs and do like this and that, but they don't have enough players who go along the boards, muck it up, do all that jazz, and look at Team Canada. Okay, possibly also facing a lot of karma, spiritually speaking, especially at the World Junior Hockey Championships, considering all the bullshit that's been happening post that tournament when this team's celebrating their wins. All that being said, does Hockey Canada have a problem? Because I feel like it was just between the pipes, right? Oh, where's the goaltending? Where's the goaltending? Okay, is Alex Auld the goalie for the Team Olympics, Hockey Olympics team coming up or whatever? All that being said, I wonder if like Hockey Canada has like a bigger. Like, it's crazy to say because it's like, you know, Matthew Schaefer, Macklin Celebrini, they could have been on the World Junior team. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that dire, but I want to know your thoughts on like everything Hockey Canada and like the World Junior team and the development and how the world is catching up and all that jazz. And if you're quote unquote scared.
Yeah, I honestly, I remember when Uncle Ricky sent that over. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But even if you're a soft rich kid, quote unquote, like couple things. First off, hockey has been expensive in this country for a long time, right? Like it's gotten bad. Don't get me wrong, but it's been expensive to play in this country for quite some time. And even those who do have the funds to get there, you still have to work your ass off to get to a level where you're playing at the frickin' World Juniors, where you're one of the best 20, 30 players in your country. Now, that being said, I do think the best of the best, they do get pampered from a young age, right? And at some point, the work ethic has to match the skill. But I think the Canada's problem with the World Juniors go beyond that. Like, look at the game against the Czechs, for instance, right? Tijik Inla and Mikko Misa play 15 minutes. Like, arguably the two best players of that tournament. Whereas, like, Sam O'Reilly, I can't believe he was named one of the Canada's three best players. Sam O'Reilly, Cole Baudouin. Like, those guys are playing, you know, almost 20 minutes, right? Braeden Cootes. You know, Canada's problem was they didn't play Braeden Cootes enough. Cootes with the lowest ice time among Canadian forwards in that game against the Czechs. So I do think there's an element of truth to the fact that hockey is just for rich kids now, and that sucks. But hockey is also expensive around the world. Other countries have really picked up the pace in the last 15, 20 years. So yeah, I do think it's more of a matter of Canada kind of beating themselves with roster choices, ice time choices, deployment choices, and other countries catching up. I think the fact that soft rich kids are playing is probably third in terms of issues compared to the other two.
Fair enough. You're more of a viewer of like the junior game itself. And again, like strong emphasis on, remember, like Team Canada's winning if Macklin Celebrini is allowed to play at that tournament. You know what I'm saying? Like Team Canada might be winning last year if Matthew Schaefer didn't get hurt. So like, obviously there's a bit of like overreaction to like things that are happening right now. That being said, I will say this. I mean, you know how the game overall has gotten soft? Not like softer is an interesting word, but like there's just less physicality, right? And I think like before there was less physicality on this side of the world when it came to hockey, it was less physical already in Europe, right? They didn't give a puck about the you know what and the scrums and the fights and like the intimidation that came with the game over here in the western part of the world. But since that part's eliminated now in the West, there is more of an even playing field. And I'm not the most patriotic guy where it's like, oh, this is the problem. Biggest problem in Canada is Tim Hortons and Hockey Canada. I'm just, crazy, crazy. But I'm not one of those guys. That being said, I think if they do want the edge, if like, let's say all the skills like evening out now, give huge credit to the Czech Republic for real, doing their thing. If it has evened out, like I would advise people here, like in Canada, if I'm in charge of this, like, be more physical. Be more physical. Like, especially in big tournaments where like every game matters. Like body check after body check after body check after body check. Like, I don't give a puck, especially if you're like playing against 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds. If you have the meanest team and that has a lot of skill too, but if you guys are all a little mean, again, back in my day, we used to watch guys like Steve Downey run around and muck it. I get what I'm trying to say is just a little bit more sandpaper and a little bit of like that Canadian spirit from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s. It would bode well in a tournament like this. But if it's all about skill and all about like making plays, because I watched yesterday's game while I was watching Aaron Rodgers beat Lamar Jackson, and I'm like, none of these guys. It was like watching roller hockey. And dude, like straight up. you're just watching roller hockey, back and forth stuff, no defense. Even the last goal Czech Republic score, like there's no there's no like the stick checking, no shoulder to shoulder, no nothing. And I think because of that, it was obvious that especially in the World Junior Hockey Tournament, that like again, you're gonna see things like this happen where the European teams are like beating Canada, and like even in games when we play Latvia, we could barely beat Latvia. I wonder if you could beat Latvia if you like you push them around too a little easier. That's just me.
Yeah, there's a balancing act there for sure, right? Because on one hand, they played the checkers and grinders too much, but Kyle, like you're saying, they could have been more physical, right? And they didn't look as dialed in. They didn't look as hungry to win as that Czech team did. But yeah, I mean, look, they also got to be smart about it too, right? Like, I did hate that moment where Porter Martone, that first game against the Czechs, scores the empty netter, then he goes like chirping the Czech guys or like, stick taps the Czech guy on the ass. It's like, be a pain in the ass, but be smart out there, man. And I felt like there were times this tournament where they definitely were not playing smart hockey. All right, Kyle, speaking of not playing smart hockey, the Vancouver Canucks one shootout win in their past 6 games. But we still got to talk about it, the goats of the week. And I also want to talk about getting chirped by Foot and the Philip Peronic chat. Let's get to that as we wrap up here on Locked On Canucks. No ad break, so we'll see you in like 10 seconds here on Locked On Canucks.
People, we back doing this, and that's reading your comments here on Locked On Canucks. Dan Jardine saying the top drafted players in the last few years have still been Canadian: Bedard, Celebrini, Matthew Schaefer, Gavin McKenna, Keegan Verhoff, DuPont, who's, I think he's getting drafted next year if I'm correct. Yeah, like I'm not super worried. I think like in tournaments like, again, the World Junior Hockey Championships or whatever, the Canada is just not as intimidating based on the skill level evening out, but also because they're just not as mean. That being said, 2 questions on Dan's comments, or two thoughts. First off, Trevor, the Canucks win the lottery, or if they get like a top 2 pick, is it guaranteed that they're drafting Gavin McKenna with one of those picks? Answer me that. And number 2, actually, you go first. Answer me that, then I'm going to ask you the theorize the next point from Dan's comment. So is McKenna like a top 2 pick automatically if you're a Vancouver Canuck and you get that pick?
No, I don't think so. I think it's pretty open right now, and we're gonna have to dive into this a lot more because the Canucks they should be picking pretty high up in that draft. But as Oliver Sholnick saying in the comments, like especially based on the World Juniors, I think Ivar Stenberg's probably the number 1 pick right now. That's a kid with a ton of skill. That's a kid who's been feisty through this entire tournament. McKenna, you could see the skill with him at points, right? Like there was moments where he would draw 3 or 4 defenders to him and then make a stick pass. But he looks like a perimeter player. He looked kind of soft throughout this whole tournament. I've loved the dog in Stenberg's game. I think he's the number 1 guy right now. Keaton Verhoff, right shot D. I mean, look, the Canucks, I mean, look, we might talk about it later, but I mean, Peronic and Willander are looking sick at right D. Not to say that you don't draft Verhoff because you have those 2 guys. Like, that's not the way to go about it. But Verhoff didn't have a great tournament either, playing in a marginalized role for Team Canada. But that guy's still a horse back there. Yeah. And then Tienan Lawrence is the other guy protected in the top 4 right now. A really elite hockey sense on that kid too. Some dog in his game. So yeah, I don't think it's a given that the Canucks draft McKenna if they're like at 2nd overall and Stenberg goes first. I think it is pretty open right now.
Yeah. It was really sick too. Like, and I wonder if he could have been a part of like a Quinn Hughes trade. Was like that guy who is drafted by Chicago on Team Sweden. Flondell? What the hell? What's this guy's name? Am I right?
Flondell.
Yo, that guy's crazy, man. That guy's crazy. Like him and Bedard, they're gonna do some magic. And speaking of Bedard, okay, last point before you do go to the week, and before you tell all of us how you almost got eliminated by Adam Foote and Philip Peronic on Saturday. It's crazy how Matthew Schaefer, Macklin Celebrini, and Connor Bedard all got drafted number 1 overall. Like that was the lottery cycle year after year after year. It's crazy how the Canucks fired their GM, got a new president, hired a new GM, and didn't even get close to getting one of those guys. Like they Canucks have traded 2 captains. They've had 2 different head coaches too. And again, all that movement at the top of their management and getting all these assistant GMs and all this, they practically rebuilded in a hybrid way. And again, they lost 2 captains, and we still got nowhere close to getting Macklin Celebrini, Connor Bedard, or Matthew Schaefer. And the Matthew Schaefer one, I think, hurts the most because I wonder if the Vancouver Canucks trade Pius Suter last year, didn't the Islanders, how did they get Matthew Schaefer? Did they go from
They went from 9th to 1. Yeah.
1. So that's the one that's scared. If the Canucks trade Pius Suter, somebody who helped them win games down the stretch, maybe we're the 9th worst team in hockey last year and we get Matthew Schaefer. But this organization is utter crap. They got absolute no strategy. They're so in love with being mid and first round playoff revenues and can't even fathom thinking about the revenues that could have happened with the Matthew Schaefer jerseys. But I'm telling you, Canucks fans, this may hurt, but we might have been able to replace Quinn Hughes in a different way if we just drafted Matthew Schaefer and finished 9th last year instead of keeping Pius Suter, not getting a 2nd round pick for him and letting him, because he was dominant down the stretch, even when Pettersson got hurt. Pius Suter leveled it up. Man, this team, man.
Pain for Canucks fans. I mean, so the Canucks finished 8 points ahead of the New York Islanders last season. The New York Islanders won 3 of their last 10 games. Vancouver Canucks won 6 of their last 10 games, picked up a couple OT losses as well, 6-2-2 in their last 10 games to lose out on Matthew Schaefer. But that's the lottery, baby. You never know what's going to happen. All right, let's rip through goats, and then Kyle, maybe you can tear me a new one, just like Adam Foote and Phil Pronik did this weekend. Go to the week here on Locked On Canucks. All right, go to the week here on Locked On Canucks. Really, it's been 2 weeks because I was busy scratching my sack last week in Alberta, Edmonton, and Calgary. Dude, by the way, I failed as a parent, man. My daughter got an Oilers jersey for Christmas from my family in Alberta.
What the hell?
She's running around proudly, just running around the house saying, "Go Oilers, go!"
Okay, that's crazy.
Do
you ever ground your children? Do you ever ground your children?
Do I ever ground my children? They're 5 and 2, so I haven't really yet. No.
Yeah, well, you should. But go to your room, 15 minutes, stand in a corner, look at the wall.
Yeah. In fairness, though, I almost wanted to adopt my nephew. So my nephew's 13. He's got a house full. He lives in a house full of Oilers fans, but he's loyal to the Canucks.
What?
Even though he's in Alberta with the team that is going to Stanley Cup Finals, but he's loyal to the Canucks, man. So I'm going to adopt my nephew and trade him. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not trading my kid. Anyways, go to the week here on Locked On Canucks. Again, it's been 2 weeks, so I kind of lumped a few players together. The Canucks, again, they've won 1 shootout game in their past 6 games. The rest all losses, some in overtime, some in shootouts. But I don't think we have to worry about the Quinn Hughes bump anymore. That is long gone. But the top player of the last 2 weeks, he basically got my top spot over the last 2 weeks. Philip Hronek, man, doubling the points here. Even though, he didn't want to say much in the media scrums, the guy's absolute horse out there. Played almost 30 minutes a night, 9 points in 10 games since Quinn Hughes left town. Also leads the Canucks with 5 points in their last 6 games. He's number 1. Linus Karlsson, number 2. Again, a guy who plays like he gives a shit. Not enough of those guys in the Vancouver Canucks right now. 3 goals in the past 6 games. Tied for the team lead. And obviously he's gotten some elevation to Elias Pettersson's line as well. I had a tie here between Kiefer Sherwood and Tom Willander for 3 and 4 as we kind of lump a few players together the last 2 weeks. Kiefer Sherwood still playing like a dog out there. Scores a goal. Which game was it? The Seattle game, I think it was. Probably should have had another one if he didn't pass it to Drew O'Connor on the breakaway. And Tom Willander, man. Tom Willander plays over 20. I think he played 21 minutes against the Bruins on Saturday night. And really, it's been quite a surprise. So I might do a bit of a deeper dive into his game this week here on Locked On Canucks. Really been impressed by Tom Willander, what he's done recently. Let's go Drew O'Connor, number 5, mainly for his work earlier on before the Christmas break. And then Elias Pettersson, I slotted in for some extra points here. So those are your goats of the past 2 weeks for the Vancouver Canucks.
Wow, Trevor. A good chance to name my dog Loki the number 1 goat of the week right there. Be a good friend, just just not be such a
Well,
hockey nerd.
Loki deserves more than the GOAT of the week, man. Loki was the GOAT of 2025. Okay, bud.
Wow, I like that. Oh, Trevor, you're skilled, man. You're talented, man. I like that one. You're good at what you do, man. Speaking of which, Trevor, almost get your ass kicked by Philip Roenick. Trevor Beggs making Canuck history by request. You know what? I'm gonna let you tell the story. Okay, I'm not gonna steal your thunder.
Yeah, so Philip Roenick came out to speak to the media on Saturday. A very rare occurrence for Philip Roenick. Obviously, this guy's spoken to the media, maybe 5 times in the 2.5 years he's been a Vancouver Canucks. So with this guy being the best player on this team and about to be named to the Czech Olympic team, I said, let's request Philip Roenick. The one guy media wrote to do it. And I think people started looking at me like, why the heck are you requesting this guy? I just want to hear what he has to say, man. He's playing his ass off. He's going to be named to the Olympic team. I got one of the reporters fired up being like, yeah, we requesting him. Yeah, like, let's do it. And then that reporter actually bailed out on the scrum. And yeah, actually, I thought Philip Roenick gave some okay answers. But for the 2 questions I asked, I know he said I basically asked about his play and how, has he felt like he's taken on a bigger leadership role when he was leaving? And he said he just felt he's played all right. And that was all he gave me. And then with the Olympic team, he said,
I love that answer. Yeah. Sorry.
Continue. Yeah, not getting too cocky, not getting too ahead of yourself. I felt like I got the Roenick death stare. I've dealt with a lot of angry Eastern Europeans in my life. That's a story for another day. I mean, hey, your guy Beggsy is the reason Roenick came out to speak to the media. So I did one for the people, even though he gave me about 5 words of answers in the 2 questions I asked. So, but hey, man, as long as you're doing anything on the ice, that's all that I really care about. And then Adam Foote also chirped me, I felt, on Friday as well. I kind of asked about the deployment of the defense. Is Boyum and Willander, playing some decent minutes together. They played about half that game together in the Seattle game before being split up. And I just asked for his thoughts on the deployment of the defense. And I think Foote took my question in a negative way. He's just like, well, no offense, but like you haven't played the game. You guys don't understand.
Trevor, you haven't played the game. Did you tell him you're a Div Z White Rock Ball Hockey League champion? Huh?
I did. Div E, by the way. Thank you very much.
And did you tell him you play defense? You were a stay-at-home defenseman? 1 goal, 2 assists? Championship?
Yeah, I started to unbutton my shirt to show my Rockies Hockey Club logo underneath, but yeah, he ignored me. That's the way it goes, man.
You're hilarious, man. I don't know. Come on, man. I wish you told me on Friday. You would have cheered me up if you told me that Adam Foote chirped you like that. That's hilarious. You got one of those chirps. I love it, man.
Yeah, the coach and Hronek maybe not a big fan of me, but I did have a reporter call me the model, so that was a nice bump, man. That was a nice bump.
Well, you could say which person said it because I don't think he's gonna take offense.
No, it's true. Yeah, the Modes came up behind me. He's like, I think I'm gonna nickname you the model. I was like, I'll take it, man. I've had, with the last name Beggs, you get a lot worse nicknames than the model, so I'll take it for sure.
We gotta get Moj on the show, man. I want to get Moj on the show, and I want his thoughts on Pettersson. I also want his thoughts on. I just read a comment, really funny. I also want his thoughts on Brock Besser. Like Brock Besser, dude.
Brock Besser.
Is there any way the Canucks can just ship this guy, dude? I don't know. Probably impossible. I think he loves Cactus Club more than me.
I think it's pretty near impossible with that extension, the lack of production. Maybe we'll save it for another day. We're coming up against it on time, but I wouldn't be so hopeful on that.
Yeah. Anyways, Mike saying that Kyle's this is the last comment. Kyle's looking like he worked a double shift at the Cookie Mart today. Amazing what a shower and brushing your teeth will do.
Oh, Locked On Canucks, baby. Kyle, you look a lot better than that, man. Okay. One love to you and you for tuning into this episode of Locked On Canucks. Happy to be back. If you like what we're doing, and if you appreciate Kyle for carrying the load here for the last week or so, make sure you subscribe to the show on YouTube. Hit the goddamn like button on the podcast side. Go follow us. Leave a 5-star review. Kyle, you smell better than you look, baby. What? And thanks for listening to Locked On Canucks.